Nikon just made a move that's about to shake up the entire camera industry. And if these leaked specs are legitimate, Sony and Canon should be seriously worried. The upcoming Nikon Z5 II isn't just another minor update, it's a complete reimagining of what an entry-level full-frame camera can be. And trust me, you're going to want to hear about the hidden feature that no one's talking about. Before we dive into these groundbreaking leaks, hit that subscribe button and notification bell because we're consistently the first to break news about upcoming camera releases, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. What I'm about to share with you today might completely change your perspective on Nikon's strategy for 2025. But there's a twist that even the most dedicated Nikon fans didn't see coming. Let's dive into what makes the Z5 II so special, starting with what might be the most impressive upgrade: the sensor. Now, you might be thinking, it's still 24.5 megapixels, what's the big deal? But here's where it gets interesting. Nikon isn't just recycling their old sensor technology. They've completely redesigned the architecture with a new backside illuminated CMOS sensor that's going to change how you think about low-light photography. And there's something about its design that even advanced photographers might miss at first glance. Imagine you're shooting a wedding reception, and the lighting is absolutely terrible. We've all been there. This new sensor, paired with the XSpeed7 processor, well, let's just say it's about to make those challenging situations a lot less stressful. But there's more to this processor than just better low-light performance. And this is where things get really exciting. The XSpeed7 processor isn't just about faster image processing, it's about completely redefining what's possible in this price range. And while other manufacturers are focusing on raw speed, Nikon has taken a different approach. One that's going to make a lot of photographers very, very happy. But before I explain why, we need to talk about something that's been largely overlooked in the initial leaks. Remember how the original Z5 had some, let's say, interesting limitations on its video capabilities? Well, this is where the Z5 II starts to get really interesting. The new camera apparently supports 4K ultra-high definition at 30 frames per second without the heavy crop of its predecessor. But that's not even the most exciting part. There's a special video feature that Nikon has implemented that's going to make filmmakers seriously consider switching systems. But we'll get to that bombshell in just a moment. First, let's talk about what might be the most impressive upgrade: the autofocus system. The leaked specs mention 273 autofocus points with eye and animal detection. But that's just scratching the surface. What makes this system special is how it implements these features. And trust me, wildlife and sports photographers are going to want to pay close attention to this part. Imagine you're tracking a bird in flight, or a runner crossing the finish line. The new autofocus system doesn't just track your subject, it predicts where they're going to be. And while that might sound like standard marketing talk, what Nikon has done with the algorithm is genuinely innovative. But there's a catch that you need to know about. The 5-axis in-body image stabilization system deserves special attention, because Nikon has apparently made some crucial improvements that weren't possible before the XSpeed7 processor. Think about those handheld shots at twilight, or trying to nail focus while shooting video walking backwards. Yeah, this system is about to make those scenarios much more manageable. But there's something even more impressive about how this stabilization system works with the new processor. And it's going to change how you approach challenging shooting situations. Let's talk about something that might seem mundane at first: the dual ultra-high speed class 2 card slots. Now, you might be thinking, card slots? Really? But hear me out, because there's something about how Nikon has implemented these slots that's going to make professional photographers very, very happy. And it has nothing to do with just having a backup. The electronic viewfinder. Now, this is where things get really interesting. That 3.69 million dot OLED might sound familiar, but Nikon has apparently made some crucial improvements to how it performs in challenging situations. Imagine tracking fast-moving subjects in bright sunlight, or trying to nail focus in near darkness. This viewfinder has some tricks up its sleeve that are going to make your life a lot easier. Now, about that tilting touchscreen. Nikon has finally addressed one of the biggest complaints about the original Z5, and they've done it in a way that's going to make both photographers and videographers happy. But there's more to this screen than just its movement. There's a feature that none of the rumor sites have picked up on yet, and it's going to make a huge difference in how you interact with the camera. The connectivity options might seem standard at first glance: Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, USB-C charging, but there's something special about how Nikon has implemented these features. Imagine being able to transfer your images and control your camera in a way that wasn't possible before. And no, I'm not talking about standard wireless tethering. This is something entirely different, something that's going to change your workflow in a fundamental way. But here's where things get really interesting. Nikon has apparently implemented a feature that wasn't included in the initial spec leaks. It's something that's going to make a lot of photographers reconsider their current setup. And it has nothing to do with resolution, autofocus, or any of the standard specs we've been discussing. In fact, this hidden feature might be the most compelling reason to consider the Z5 II. But before I reveal what it is, we need to talk about how it fits into Nikon's broader strategy for 2025. Now, about that hidden feature I mentioned earlier, this is where the Z5 II really starts to shine. Nikon has apparently developed a new AI-powered scene recognition system that works differently from anything we've seen before. Imagine having a camera that doesn't just recognize what you're shooting, but actually adapts its entire system, from autofocus to color science, based on the scene. This isn't just another smart feature. It's a fundamental rethinking of how a camera can work with a photographer. But here's the twist that no one saw coming. And this is something that wasn't in any of the leak reports. According to my sources, Nikon has implemented a revolutionary buffer management system that completely changes how the camera handles high-speed shooting. This isn't just about faster continuous shooting speeds, it's about never missing a shot, period. And when you combine this with the new processor and card slots, well, let's just say wedding and sports photographers are going to be very interested in what this camera can do. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. This sounds too good to be true for an entry-level camera. And you're right to be skeptical. But here's what you need to understand about Nikon's strategy. They're not just trying to create another entry-level camera. They're redefining what entry-level means in 2025. And when you look at the bigger picture, it starts to make perfect sense. Think about it. While other manufacturers are pushing their entry-level cameras down to meet price points, Nikon appears to be doing something completely different. They're bringing professional features to a more accessible price point, but not in the way you might expect. This isn't about cramming in features just to pad a spec sheet. It's about creating a camera that actually makes sense for both emerging professionals and serious enthusiasts. But there's one more thing, and this is the feature that really shows what Nikon is thinking about the future. The Z5 II apparently includes a sophisticated focus stacking feature that works in conjunction with the new AI system. This isn't just for macro photographers, it's for anyone who wants to ensure perfect focus in challenging situations. And the way they've implemented it? Well, it's going to make a lot of photographers rethink their approach to certain types of shots. Now, before we wrap up, there's something else you need to know, something that makes all of these features even more impressive. The battery life. Yeah, despite all these new features, Nikon has apparently found a way to maintain impressive battery performance. And it's not just about the number of shots. It's about how the camera manages power in real-world shooting situations. Here's the thing about the Z5 II. It's not trying to be the best camera for everyone. Instead, Nikon seems to be focusing on making it the perfect camera for a specific type of photographer. Someone who values reliability and real-world performance over headline-grabbing specs. And when you look at it from that perspective, every single feature we've discussed today makes perfect sense. But there's one final twist. And this is something that's going to make a lot of people very happy. The expected release date of summer 2025. Well, let's just say there might be more to that story. And while I can't reveal everything I know right now, I can tell you that if you're in the market for a new camera, you might want to hold off on making any purchases just yet. If you're as excited about this camera as I am, make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell. And speaking of upcoming Nikon cameras, you're going to want to check out our video on Nikon's entire 2025 camera lineup next. Trust me, the Z5 II is just the beginning of what looks like an incredible year for Nikon. Drop a comment below letting me know which feature of the Z5 II you're most excited about. And remember, while these specs are certainly impressive, The real test will be how this camera performs in the real world. But based on what we're seeing so far, well, let's just say 2025 is shaping up to be a very interesting year for photographers. I'll see you in the next video.